Hi, my name is Ben Berg, and this is Media Report 1. The media is a powerful tool, and not necessarily for good. Media shapes how we look, feel, and claim to understand different types of people across the world, and it's usually a disfigured depiction of reality. According to cultural theorist Stuart Hall in his video Representation in Media, representation is the way in which meaning is somehow given to the things that are depicted through the media. What this means is that the media essentially controls the meaning we associate with different people and aspects of culture. This is what leads to the creation of stereotypes. The danger of this issue is that the media is mostly controlled by straight white men, which is the most common demographic in America. As a result, all other demographics are all too often misrepresented in mainstream media because it does not serve the quote-unquote meaning makers. One of the most common ways in which representation is skewed in the media is via the way the Motion Pictures Association of America, or the MPAA, rates movies. Kirby Dick's 2006 expose of the MPAA titled "This Film is Not Yet Rated" brought light to this issue. For example, movies with male nudity are considered obscene, while movies with female nudity are not. Most movies that are deemed to warrant an NC-17 rating are the ones that depict female sexual pleasure and/or LGBTQ couples. A likely cause of this is that the majority of the MPAA board members are men. According to Media Insider's explanation of Laura Mulvey's male gaze theory, in movies we always see women from the male perspective, and having a ratings board made almost entirely of men is why this issue is reinforced. That being said, not all movies have such outdated representation. For example, Robert Stromberg's 2014 film Maleficent turns typical gender roles on their head to a degree. Instead of the typical Disney princess story, we see a movie where the witch who cursed Princess Aurora in Sleeping Beauty is at center stage. Maleficent goes from being a one-note antagonist to a more nuanced and seasoned character with real motivations beyond pure evil. Meanwhile, Aurora, who in the original Sleeping Beauty was a perfect princess without flaws, Maleficent paints her as a more problematic character as well. It's an imperfect but progressive take on the genre. This goes counter to Benshoff and Griffin's explanation of typical Hollywood gender roles, where women's virtues are tied to their appearance and they fall into either the pure or evil category of characters. The 2017 film I, Tonya is about the real-life figure skating clash between media darling Nancy Kerrigan and the cast-off Tonya Harding. The movie aims to shed light on how wealth class plays a critical role in the media treatment of people, in particular women. Kerrigan was a wealthy, prim and proper-looking woman who became the media favorite over Harding due to the way the two dressed, not the way they skated. As Inku Kang pointed out in her article, I, Tonya's take on toxic masculinity and messy victimhood arrives just at the right moment. Their disparate treatments come to light when Kerrigan becomes a sympathetic figure after being a victim of domestic abuse. Meanwhile, Tonya was forced to privately suffer her own domestic abuse because she did not appeal to American media ideals. While many people are familiar with civil rights activist Cesar Chavez because of the media coverage of his work as a leader of the agricultural labor law revolution, much fewer people are familiar with Dolores Huerta. However, the 2018 documentary Dolores by Peter Bratt suggests that Huerta was just as, if not more important to the cause than Chavez. She was likely excluded from the media coverage because she did not fit the typical housewife role the media had carved out for Latin women. However, the 2014 film Cesar Chavez appears to completely discredit Huerta's involvement in the revolution, as she is seen standing behind Chavez throughout the trailer. According to Susana Alcantar in her article, Latino representation in films remains limited despite history of inclusion. This is a common and ongoing issue where Latin women are cast out of the primary narrative regardless of their real-world involvement in those events. Taylor Sheridan's 2017 film Wind River is both a strong and poor example of representation in mainstream media. For example, the protagonist Natalie is a Native American woman who was raped. Natalie is a strong female character who is depicted overcoming abuse throughout the film, but where the movie fails is her Native American heritage is almost entirely excluded from her character. That's disappointing given her culture's relationship with abuse and overcoming it. What the movie did admirably, though, is they refused to allow Harvey Weinstein, the movie's producer, to be a part of the film once it got out that he had sexually abused dozens of women. This is fitting for a movie about overcoming rape. There are a lot of problems with representation in mainstream media. There are too few movies trying to properly represent different demographics, and the ones that do are too often flawed. but what needs to continue is the conversation surrounding them and the resulting pressure to increase proper representation. Thank you.